Have you ever looked down one morning, perhaps after a shower, and thought, wait a second, things look a little different down there? You're not imagining it. A lot of men over 60 quietly notice the same thing. Their penis seems smaller than it used to be. It's not something we love to talk about, but let's be honest, it can feel confusing, even a little worrying. You might wonder, is it my imagination? Is something wrong with me? Or is this just age? Well, today, we're going to open that door, gently but truthfully. Because understanding what's happening to your body isn't just about confidence, it's about your health. And there's more to this shrinking than most men are ever told. A few months ago, I met a gentleman named Richard, 68, retired engineer, married for over 40 years. When he first came into my office, he said, "Doc, this might sound silly, but I swear I've lost an inch, and my wife noticed too." He chuckled nervously, but behind that laugh was concern. It wasn't just about appearance. He said it made him feel less like himself. That sense of masculinity, of pride, had quietly taken a hit. My name is Dr. Nolan Easton, and for more than 30 years, I've worked with men just like Richard, good, hard-working men who've taken care of their families, their careers, and everyone around them, but sometimes forget to take care of themselves. My passion is helping older men understand the changes their bodies go through, especially the ones no one warns them about. And this topic, it's one of the biggest secrets in men's health. Now, here's the truth. Yes, the penis can appear smaller with age, but it's not because the body is broken. It's because of a few gradual, natural changes that happen over time, most of which are completely reversible or at least manageable once you know what's behind them. Let's start with the most common factor, circulation. Think of your penis as a barometer for your blood flow. When you were younger, your arteries were like wide, smooth highways. Blood could move freely, quickly, with plenty of pressure. But over time, especially after 60, those highways can develop a few potholes, cholesterol buildup, reduced elasticity, slower circulation. When that happens, less oxygen-rich blood reaches the penis. And here's what most men don't realize. It's not just about erections. That reduced blood flow also affects the tissue structure itself, causing it to contract slightly and lose that full, healthy shape it once had. Richard was stunned when I explained this. "So it's not in my head?" he asked. I smiled. "No, Richard, it's in your arteries." He laughed, but you could see relief wash over him. That's the moment most men start to take control again, when they understand this isn't the mystery, and it's not a reflection of their worth as a man. But there's another piece of this puzzle, and it's one most doctors never talk about: muscle tone. You see, the penis isn't just a piece of tissue hanging around. It's supported by tiny muscles in the pelvic floor. Over time, those muscles can weaken, especially if you're not using them much. Think of it like your biceps. If you stop lifting things, they lose shape. The same goes for your pelvic floor. When that support structure weakens, it can make the penis appear smaller or less firm, even when flaccid. Richard admitted something that many men share. "Doc, I haven't really exercised in years. I walk a bit, but that's it." That's when I taught him something simple. Easy daily pelvic floor moves that help improve tone, blood flow, and even posture. Within 6 weeks, he told me his morning confidence was back. He said, "It looks fuller," he said shyly, "and I feel more like me again." Now, before we go deeper into what you can do to reverse some of these changes, because yes, there are steps you can take, I want you to do something small for me. If this topic hits home, if you've ever wondered about this quiet change in your body, go ahead and click the like button, subscribe, and tap the bell icon so you don't miss future advice like this. And if you feel comfortable, type a simple yes in the comments. That tells me this message resonates, and I personally go through those comments to tailor each new video to what you actually want and need. Now, here's where the story gets even more interesting. Another subtle cause of shrinkage after 60 isn't physical at all. It's hormonal, specifically testosterone. After 40, testosterone levels naturally drop by about 1% per year. That might not sound like much, but over 2 decades, it adds up. Lower testosterone means less nitric oxide production. That's the chemical that signals your blood vessels to open up and expand. When that signal weakens, you lose both blood flow and tissue elasticity. It's like an old balloon that doesn't quite stretch the way it used to. This is why I always tell my patients, what you see down there is often a mirror of what's happening inside. When we boost testosterone naturally through nutrition, resistance training, sleep, and sometimes mild medical support, the change can be visible. I've seen men in their late 70s regain not just energy, but also fullness and firmness they thought were gone forever. For Richard, once we worked on his circulation and added a few natural testosterone-supporting habits, things changed fast. His energy rose, his mood lifted, and yes, his confidence, both in and out of the bedroom, returned. He said, "My wife says I'm walking taller," and I think she meant more than just posture.
When I first started practicing medicine over 3 decades ago, men rarely brought this topic up. They'd talk about back pain, sleep trouble, or fatigue, but not this. Yet behind closed doors, it was always on their minds. And honestly, I don't blame them, because when something as personal as your size or shape begins to change, it doesn't just affect your body, it affects how you feel about yourself. That's exactly what my patient Richard experienced. After we discussed the physical causes, reduced circulation, loss of muscle tone, hormonal shifts, he said something that really stuck with me. "Doc, it's not just about what I see, it's how I feel when I see it." That right there is the quiet struggle so many men face after 60. It's about identity, pride, and confidence. But here's the thing, confidence isn't something you lose with age. It's something you rebuild with understanding. Now, in part 1, I mentioned that blood flow is the single biggest factor in maintaining not just performance, but the appearance of fullness. And the truth is, improving that flow is simpler than most men think. The problem is, many of the solutions pushed online are either temporary or flat-out misleading. Pills, pumps, quick fixes, they don't address the underlying issue, your vascular health. Let's go back to Richard for a moment. When he came in, his blood pressure was slightly high, his cholesterol numbers weren't terrible but not great, and he admitted he'd fallen into that common retirement trap. More sitting, less movement. "I just don't feel the need to rush anywhere anymore," he said with a laugh. And that's perfectly understandable. But our circulation is like a river. If it stops flowing, things start to stagnate. So we started small. I told him, "Richard, don't think of exercise as a workout. Think of it as keeping the river moving." He began taking short walks after breakfast and dinner. Nothing extreme, just steady movement. After 2 weeks, we added gentle squats, seated leg lifts, and a few pelvic floor contractions while brushing his teeth or watching TV. These tiny moments of activity send signals to the lower body. Wake up, move blood, strengthen support. 3 months later, he came back smiling. "Doc, I can't believe how much better everything looks. Even my posture feels younger." His numbers improved, his skin tone brightened, and he said his wife had commented that he seemed more alive. That's what I want every man watching this to understand. These little changes aren't vanity, they're vitality. Now, I want to pause here for a moment and talk directly to you. If you're watching this and thinking, "That sounds like me," go ahead and click like on this video. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to this channel. Tap the bell icon too, because each week I share simple, real-world advice just like this. Things your regular doctor might never have the time or comfort to explain. And I personally read your comments, especially those yes or no responses. They tell me exactly what you want to hear more about. So, what else causes that shrinking effect most men over 60 see? There's a lesser-known culprit that surprises almost everyone: body composition changes. Over time, as testosterone drops and metabolism slows, many men store a bit more fat in the lower belly area, that soft pad right above the pubic bone. When that happens, the penis doesn't actually shrink, it just becomes partially hidden by that tissue. Think of it as a turtle pulling slightly into its shell. That's one of the biggest visual reasons older men notice a difference. When I told Richard this, he burst out laughing. "You're telling me it's not smaller? It's just hiding behind my belly?" I nodded. Exactly. It's there, just undercover. That realization alone gave him hope. We worked on gradually reducing abdominal fat through small, realistic habits, cutting late-night snacks, adding a bit more protein, and prioritizing quality sleep. Why sleep? Because poor rest increases cortisol, the stress hormone that encourages fat to store right where men least want it, around the waistline. Within a couple of months, Richard's belly softened less, his energy grew, and, as he proudly told me, "Doc, I can actually see the difference now." And that's the beauty of this. It's not about chasing youth, it's about reclaiming yourself. There's also another fascinating factor: scar tissue buildup from years of microtrauma or conditions like Peyronie's disease, even mild cases most men never realize they have. Over time, tiny layers of fibrous tissue can slightly reduce stretch and flexibility, which can make the penis appear shorter. The good news is, with proper stretching, blood flow exercises, and sometimes light medical therapy, that tissue can regain some elasticity. The moral here is simple: your body changes, but it also responds beautifully when you give it the right attention. Whether it's walking, stretching, sleeping better, or simply hydrating more, all these seemingly small habits improve the health of your vascular system. And when the inside improves, the outside follows. I often remind my patients, your penis is not a separate organ. It's part of your circulatory and muscular system. When your heart, vessels, and muscles are cared for, everything else reflects that care. That's why I prefer to focus not on fixing one body part, but on restoring balance across the whole system. Richard's transformation wasn't just physical. The day he walked in for his follow-up, his handshake was firmer, his voice had more confidence, and he joked, "Doc, I think my wife's been giving me second looks again." That spark, that quiet pride, that's what this is really about.
When Richard came in for his next appointment, something was different about him. Even before he sat down, his shoulders were straighter, his steps more deliberate, and that quiet hesitancy in his voice had faded. "Doc," he said, "I think I'm getting the hang of this." That's when I smiled and told him something I'd tell every man who starts to feel his strength coming back. You're not getting old, you're getting smarter about your body. Because the truth is, once men understand why changes happen, they start to reclaim control. And today, that's what I want to help you do too. Take control, naturally, safely, and confidently. So let's talk about how to reverse some of those changes that make your penis look or feel smaller after 60. I'm not talking about magic pills or risky procedures. I'm talking about everyday, practical things that help your body function like it's meant to. Things that get your blood flowing, your hormones balanced, and your tissue healthy again. The first step is something most men overlook: hydration. It sounds simple, but dehydration thickens your blood, which slows circulation, especially to the smallest blood vessels, like the ones in your penis. When the tissue doesn't get enough fluid or oxygen, it loses elasticity and fullness. I told Richard to start his day with 2 glasses of water before coffee. He groaned, but he did it. Within 2 weeks, he told me, "Doc, I feel more awake, and my skin even looks better." That's because hydration affects everything: your energy, your hormones, even your blood pressure. Next, we worked on something just as crucial: breathing. Most older men breathe shallowly, especially when stressed. That limits oxygen flow and tightens the pelvic muscles. I taught Richard a simple exercise. Inhale slowly for 4 seconds, hold for 2, exhale for 6. Do that 5 times a day, especially before bed. It relaxes the nervous system and boosts nitric oxide, the very chemical your body needs to expand blood vessels naturally. "Doc," he said one morning, "I don't know what's happening, but I'm sleeping better and mornings feel different." I grinned. "That's your body thanking you." Now, let's move to something that makes an enormous difference: circulation foods. As we age, our blood vessels become less flexible, but certain foods can help restore that elasticity. I had Richard add beets, spinach, olive oil, and a handful of walnuts to his weekly meals. These aren't exotic ingredients, they're just circulation boosters packed with nitrates, omega-3s, and antioxidants. Within a month, his blood pressure improved, and he said he was waking up with that familiar firmness he hadn't felt in years. But food alone isn't enough. You need movement. And I don't mean exhausting workouts. Gentle, consistent motion keeps the pelvic floor and lower body muscles engaged, the foundation for blood flow to the groin. I told Richard to think of his day in movement windows. After sitting for 30 minutes, stand up and walk for 3. That's it. If you can, do a few heel raises or squeeze your pelvic muscles for 5 seconds and release. Little movements, big impact. He took it seriously. "Doc, my wife laughs because I do my little secret moves in the kitchen," he told me once. But she also noticed something else. He had more energy and his posture looked younger. That's the hidden gift of circulation work. It doesn't just help one area, it revitalizes your entire body. Now I want to talk about something that's often ignored: posture. You might be surprised, but slouching, especially with age, compresses your lower abdomen and reduces visible length. When you stand straighter, open your chest, and align your pelvis, blood flows freely and your body naturally appears more youthful. Try this right now. Lift your chest slightly, roll your shoulders back, and breathe deeply. Feel that stretch through your core? That's your internal plumbing opening up. Richard practiced this too. "Doc, I feel taller," he said. And I replied, "You are, in more ways than one." Now, before we move on, if this advice feels useful or encouraging to you, please take a second to like this video and subscribe if you haven't yet. Tap that bell icon so you don't miss what's coming next. And type a simple "yes" in the comments if you believe these changes are possible for you. I read every one of your comments personally, and your feedback helps me bring you more practical, real-world men's health advice every week. Now, let's touch on something delicate but vital: hormone rhythm. As men age, testosterone levels dip not just yearly, but daily, depending on sleep, stress, and diet. To keep those levels stable, your body needs rhythm. Regular wake times, exposure to morning sunlight, and consistent sleep all help your body maintain its internal balance. Richard used to stay up late watching TV and sleep in until 9. Once he shifted his bedtime earlier and got sunlight in the first hour after waking, his energy changed dramatically. He said, "I haven't felt this sharp since my 40s. That's the power of giving your hormones a steady schedule. And remember, it's not only about testosterone itself, it's how your body uses it. When you're under chronic stress, your body prioritizes survival hormones like cortisone, which blocks the effects of testosterone. So one of the best ways to restore what's been lost is through relaxation and recovery. Whether it's stretching before bed, breathing exercises, or just listening to calming music, your nervous system must feel safe before your body performs at its best. Finally, I told Richard something that made him pause. This isn't just about your penis, Richard. It's about your life force. The same circulation that supports you sexually is what fuels your heart, your brain, and your joy. He nodded slowly, and for the first time, I saw pride in his eyes. Not ego, but peace. He realized he was getting his vitality back.
When Richard walked into my office 1 year after our very first conversation, I could barely recognize him. His gait was stronger, his eyes brighter, and he had that unmistakable energy of a man who had taken back control of his health. He said, "Doc, I don't even think about it anymore. It just feels normal again." And that's exactly what I want for you, too. Because by the time most men reach their 60s or 70s, they've accepted decline as destiny. But decline is not destiny, not when you understand what's really going on inside your body. If you've been following along, you now know that what looks like shrinkage isn't always about actual size. It's about circulation, muscle tone, hormone rhythm, and even posture. But the real secret to keeping everything healthy and strong, from your arteries to your confidence, is consistency. So let's talk about how to protect what you've regained and keep your vitality alive for decades to come. One of the first things I told Richard, and I tell every patient, is this: your body doesn't need perfection. It just needs attention. The men who age well aren't the ones who work out like athletes or eat like monks. They're the ones who make steady, kind choices each day. Choices that tell their body, "I'm still here, and I still care." Let's start with morning circulation rituals. Richard developed his own routine, and I encourage you to make one too. Before he gets out of bed, he takes 3 slow, deep breaths, flexes his toes, and contracts his pelvic floor muscles gently. Then he drinks a full glass of water, does a few slow stretches, and stands by the window for sunlight. That simple 2-minute practice sets the tone for his entire day. It wakes up his blood flow, balances his hormones, and helps maintain that healthy tissue tone that keeps him feeling strong. I've seen men who skip this step for years and then wonder why things start to look different. It's not punishment, it's just the body responding to neglect. But once you start treating those first 10 minutes of the morning as your foundation for circulation, everything changes. Now let's talk about food as medicine. I'm not saying you have to overhaul your diet or live on kale smoothies, but as men age, inflammation becomes your quiet enemy. It narrows your arteries and reduces oxygen delivery to your tissues. Foods like berries, olive oil, green vegetables, and fish are powerful anti-inflammatories that naturally protect blood flow. I had Richard swap out his evening processed snacks for a handful of almonds and dark chocolate. "Doc," he told me, "it's funny, I enjoy food more now than I did 10 years ago." That's because he learned to eat for his body, not against it. Another major piece of the puzzle is stress management. It's easy to underestimate how powerful chronic tension can be. When you're constantly worrying about money, family, or health, your body releases cortisol. That one hormone not only blocks testosterone, but also tightens blood vessels and slows healing. For men over 60, it's like carrying a silent brake on every system that keeps you feeling alive. So I told Richard something I'll tell you too: make calm